Cold calling is one of the most important skills you can develop as a sales rep. Cold calling is the solicitation of new business from potential customers. You are calling them out of the blue. You are interrupting their days in order to try and convince them to purchase your product or service. I have made over 50,000 cold calls in my 4-year software sales career, and in today's video, I'll be sharing with you my 3-step framework to help you set more meetings, feel more comfortable, and find more success on the phones sooner rather than later, immediately today. Step 3 also includes my objection handling framework to help you overcome the many rejections and no's that you will inevitably face. I've been told no thousands of times, and I'm better because of it in all of the experience. Step 1 is to identify your target buyer. Salespeople are hunters. It's a contact sport. We are going out of our way, putting ourselves at risk with the fear of rejection and being told no. It's very scary. We as humans naturally evolved from the hunter-gatherer state. So think of yourself as a hunter. In order to survive, you need to go kill animals, gather food to provide for your family, your tribe, and your village. It's the same thing with cold calling. All of the dials you make, the better you are at it, directly influences your quality of lifestyle. So the better you are on the phones, the nicer the apartments you're gonna be able to buy. And that's why I pay $2,700 a month for my rent here downtown Dallas, Texas. Hunter-gatherers. Who is your target buyer as a hunter? The buffalo? Maybe the buffalo. Why is it your target? It's because it has a lot of meat. It has the skin. It will help sustain life for a long period of time. If that is your target buyer, the buffalo, okay, what do they care about? What do the buffaloes do? Okay, they go to the watering hole. Maybe they sleep at this certain place with all of their other buffaloes in the group. How can we figure that out and intercept them at the water hole to increase our odds of killing the buffalo so that we can ultimately get the outcome of getting the meat? It's the same thing with cold calling. You don't even need to know much about your solution. You need to know more about your buyer persona, your target buyer. Who has your money? I personally sell to HR buyers, so we will use that as an example. Human resources. What does human resources care about? Okay, they care about attracting talent, recruiting. They care about the retention of talent, making sure that the people who started the company stay, and then ultimately making sure that people who are working at the company, you and I, people on the front lines, are happy, are engaged, have a sense of well-being, feel like they can associate from an inclusion standpoint. All of this is important. I know that that's what the HR buyer cares about because that is my target buyer. So when I reverse engineer who has my money, the HR people have my money, they have a budget. What do they care about? They care about retention, engagement, productivity, development. Okay, I've identified my target buyer. Ask yourself based on your solution, who is your target buyer? You need to be very clear. Write down who your target buyer is. Is it the director of HR? Is it the vice president of HR? Is it the chief human resources officer? Is it the vice president of talent, diversity, equity, inclusion, learning, development, organizational development? I understand all of these titles because I know who my target buyer is. So when I look at my account list, I can go down the list and say, okay, these are the accounts with the highest revenue, the highest employee count in the best industries that I understand the use case for. Who is the target buyer? Okay, the vice president of human resources. I now know I can go target them. And that's step 1 in the cold calling process. You need to understand who is your buyer, who has your money, so that you can feel confident in finding a lot of them and also targeting them with the information that you know that they care about. When you actually get them on the phone, that takes us into step number 2. Don't focus on the pain, focus on the need. Let me explain. There are gypsies in the world that will stand in parking spots and they will not get out of the way when you want to park there. The only way to get them to go is to actually pay them off. When you drive into a parking lot, in order to get your outcome of going into the store, you need to park in the parking space. And the gypsy's in the way. They've intercepted between where you're at now and what you need. They're in the middle. So they're actually putting themselves in the best position to make money and capitalize on your need because it's a compelling event. You are right then and there, and you might as well just pay them off. It's the same thing with your buyer persona. Once you know who they are, once you know what they need, you can start to get in between them and what they need, which is very important. So when I'm on the phone, I'm not saying, What does it mean when you lose a lot of employees? Is it really expensive? Oh, is your program inefficient today? Is my automated intelligence actionable solutions in real time with AI? Is that gonna help you? They don't care about any of that. What they care about is their immediate need. So when I get on the phone, you guys know I always start by saying, hey, this is Trent from insert company name. How are you? They say, okay. I say, the reason I'm calling you specifically is I noticed that you oversee the HR vision and strategy. Is employee engagement, employee feedback collection, a priority for you or the team this year? We've reverse engineered what they need. We know that retention is important, and a way to achieve higher retention is by listening to your employees, by collecting feedback, by measuring employee engagement. And now this is starting to play into my solution and how we're gonna help them with that need. So they're basically forced to say, yes, that actually is a priority, believe it or not. It's open-ended enough and broad, and we're playing into their immediate need because you want to drive a compelling event, you want to drive urgency. Why would they do something now opposed to this ethereal, lagging pain? Because it's very hard to set value around that. And you are there to sell time. You're not there to pitch your solution. So identify that need, and then it gives you the permission to say, well, I work with other organizations in your space to help them to better collect feedback from their employees, to improve retention, productivity, mitigate risk. It sounds like that this is an area of opportunity, and that takes us into step number 3, which is make the ask for their time. Early in my career, I was making a lot of cold calls, and that's the only way I was able to get better because I didn't naturally come in with the skills. I didn't know what I'd be doing as an SDR. They just said, here's your headset. This was actually my headset day one. I've made so many calls on this headset. It's very nice. That's why I'm wearing it. And it improves my confidence. I digress. So when you're on the call and you realize you're talking with a lot of people, but you're not actually getting the outcome you want, which is setting the meeting, an adjustment I had to make, and I actually wrote it on a Post-it note to remind me that I'm not gonna get off the phone until I make the ask. I would write, make the ask for their time. In order to get what you want, you need to ask for it. If you do not ask, you do not receive. I'm sure you've heard that before. It's like going in the grocery store. When you're pushing around your cart, you see all these things you need, right? On the shelves, you say, okay, I wanna look at that, I wanna look at that. But you don't actually get it until you put it in your cart. You grab it and put it in your cart. It's the same thing with cold calling. You don't actually get the meeting unless you ask for it, unless you luck your way into it, but you're not gonna luck your way to being the top performer. So you've gotta get on the phone and say, look, it sounds like there's alignment here. Let's set up a brief introductory conversation later this week. How does Thursday at 2 p.m. look for you? And then they're either gonna say yes and agree to it, which is fantastic. You confirm their email. Hey, is subscribe to Trent@gmail.com still the best email to reach you? Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. So you confirm it, you set a verbal agenda. Okay, we're gonna talk about your priorities. I'm gonna introduce my company, and if there's alignment, we'll continue the conversation. If not, we're gonna part ways. Set that agenda because it will make it real for them and it will improve their odds of actually showing up. But more likely than not, they're actually gonna say, you know what, no, that doesn't work for me. And you're gonna say, well, what about that doesn't work for you? And then they're gonna give you the real reason why they don't wanna take the meeting. Most of the time, it's they just don't want to hear you out, they'll brush you off, and they'll just give some BS excuse. If somebody asks you to go to dinner, and maybe you'll say, well, I'm tired. And they say, well, you got 8 hours of sleep last night. Well, why don't you want to go to dinner? And then you say, well, the real reason is because I actually have Trent's YouTube video to go watch. So if I go to dinner with you, I actually won't have the time to watch it. Okay, that's the real objection. How do we overcome that? On a cold call, you will either get an objection at the start of the call, so as soon as they answer within the first 5-10 seconds, or you'll get an objection when you eventually make the ask for their time at the end of it. Two very distinct objections. When you get the objection at the beginning of the call, you need to control the pace and not let them try and rush you out the phone. They'll say, I'm in a meeting. I can't talk right now. Call me back later. Send me an email. They'll say these things quickly, trying to rush you off. Slow down, control the pace, and make sure they feel that you are not going away easily. Would it be fair if I give you a call back later today? And say, look, would you have 30 seconds for me to tell you the reason why I'm calling so that I don't continue to follow up with you if there's no need? But I do think the only reason I'm calling is because I think that we have a lot of value to offer you. Make sure they feel that you're not going away. Lastly, if you get that objection at the end of the call, such as no budget, not the right time, or using a competitor, you need to you need to make them feel heard. I figured you had something in place. I'm not asking for any budget today. Make sure they feel heard. Very important. That's why people love Oprah, because she makes people feel heard. People want to feel listened to. And then give them a validated reason why it still makes sense for them to take your meeting. Well, look, I'm confident by the end of our call, you will either see why we are a better fit for your needs to help you look better, or you'll feel even more better about your existing solution, for example. And that's how I think about overcoming objections. Those 3 steps will help you to identify who to focus on. They'll help you take massive action. It'll help give you the confidence to then give your pitch, make the ask for the time, set up more meetings, and you keep repeating that. Naturally, you're gonna set more meetings, you're gonna have more pipeline, you're gonna be more successful, you're gonna close more revenue, you're gonna keep promoting, you're gonna get the titles, the status, the prestige, the money, all of the things I'm searching for as well. If you found value in today's video, hit the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. The first link in the description below is Sales Prestige Podcast. It's my podcast. New episode coming out this week. Absolute banger. So many insights, gems, value that you will find. Go check out that channel. I'd appreciate your support. Have a great rest of the day. Happy pipeline. Happy life.